because if there's no yes, then there's no consent.
I mean, those things don't just disappear. Everything's now out there and it's permanent.
I feel like everybody should consider themselves a feminist.
When you're doing something right, then that person notices and you feel like you're glowing.
It's not okay to let yourself conscious.
All right, so our first topic up, we wanted to talk about consent. For us, we didn't really talk about it in high school. I know I didn't. My mother used to yell at my brother and I before we left the house, like, no means no, and don't get anyone pregnant. That's all she would yell. But then I was gay, so I didn't have to really worry about it. So I was like, I'm good. I was wondering, like, do you guys talk about consent with each other, like in school? Like, is that like a topic that comes up?
A lot of self-proclaimed feminists in my friend groups are always talking about it and trying to like educate the other people in our friend group who don't really see the, like, not the importance, but they just don't really acknowledge it, like kind of like not talking about it, right? So we try to like talk about it quite often. I think we do actually talk about it quite often in my friend group.
No one really pulls up like a news article or something from the other day and says like, we should talk about this, guys. It's more like stuff that happens within our community. Someone gets hurt because they didn't give consent to doing something or, wanting something, and then that kind of sparks something at Kothra, and the wave, you can literally feel the wave ripple across everyone.
But is it something that girls talk more about or boys? Like, do boys mention consent?
I hang out with all girls, so I don't know what the guys talk about. But like when we're hanging out, that kind of thing, the only time it comes up is when they don't realize that someone didn't ask and that it was an issue. Is they think it was just like, oh, that's just his game, or oh, he was just being like savage or whatever. No, it's not okay. And then that's how it usually comes up, because there's a lot of girls that don't understand that that's a power they have. They think that a lot of the time it's something that they have to abide by and appease to.
I think you bring up a really interesting point, that it's kind of an afterthought.
How's it communicated then?
Okay, so like recently it was just like, oh, and then it was just kind of, yeah, and then this happened and that happened, and it was just like, oh my god, I don't know what you're like that's serious. Like, you need to understand that that's something you have a right to say no to.
Yeah, and I think you can say no in like a lot of different ways instead of just saying like no.
If you are just hooking up with someone, I think you could make that like sexy, like, oh, like I want to kiss you. Like it doesn't need to be like, okay, like yes or no, could you like sign this contract? I'm going to place my lips on yours now. Like, it doesn't need to be awkward. Like, I think it can be kind of a cool thing. Yeah.
It's no longer like no means no. Like, people have changed it to yes means yes, because if there's no yes, then there's no consent.
And anything else means no.
Yeah, consent has to be affirmative. It's not just the lack of a no.
And then whose side does it fall on then? Is it the girl's responsibility to say, yes, this is okay, or is it the boy's responsibility to ask?
Whoever's doing the coming on to needs to be the one asking, because the other person wasn't like necessarily asking to be come on to whatsoever. This is the other person making a conscious decision, and this other, like, and a response to that should be to ask.
Yeah, like, I never want to talk about consent in terms of gendered roles, because it's not. It has to apply to everyone forever, whatever the mix of people involved.
Does consent function differently in same-sex couples?
Like you were saying, Adamo, like your mom would tell you and your brother before you left, like, don't get anyone pregnant, like, no means no, right? But, like, would she have said that to, like, if you had a sister?
Yeah, exactly. If we were girls. It's a great question. I don't know.
It was never taught, never focused on, and I know a lot of people in my class didn't know about it. A lot of people would question about what does consent really mean.
Maybe there was like an offhand comment or something from a teacher like, oh, and if everyone's happy, then, that's great. And if not, then, that's not so great. But, never explicitly. That's
Wise words.
That's all the education you get unless you're seeking outside resources, which a lot of kids just may not think to do.
I'm in grade 12 now, right? And the last time we talked about sex ed at all was in grade 9.
Yeah.
Health class, or gym class, the last time they're like, you have to take gym. If we even talked about consent then, I don't remember.
And it was surely not same-sex consent at all.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
No. No, it's like you like present on gonorrhea and you put a condom on a banana and then you're done.
Well, it's also like health class kind of seems quite obvious. In this day and age, it's like, I think we got the condom part. It's the wider cultural issues that are more complex that we should talk about like this. What if you are dating somebody and you've been dating for a while? Do all the consent rules go out the window?
There's no point in time where anyone's relationship with you takes away your body autonomy.
Again, like, it's your own body. Like, you may not just be not feeling it that day. You just don't want to do it. It's like you can't try and shame them for not being in the mood.
You could still date and not want to have sex for a while. Like, I think, or maybe not throughout all of high school, or maybe not until you're ready. There's that whole idea.
And also another thing in relationships, I think a lot of people see it as a proof of their love, and if you know, if I don't have sex with this person, they're gonna think I don't love them, and that's not the case.
Or, I mean, also sometimes you'll hear, you know, if you won't do it with me, I'll find someone else who will.
No, really?
And you know, that's an abusive dynamic.
People find themselves in scenarios where they drank too much, or, you know, whatever substances they did, it leaves them, I guess, unable to really speak for themselves in the most responsible way. What happens in those scenarios?
If both people are drunk and there's still one person who isn't consenting, like
That's-
who's
yeah,
literally
that's rape.
saying
Well, yeah.
no, then I mean obviously that's rape. Even if this other person, even if the aggressor is equally as drunk, that's still not a defense.
A no is a
legally.
no. Like no
Yeah.
matter what kind of no that
Like,
is, period.
Like how drunk do you really have to be to hear no, stop, and you know still keep going with that.
One of my friends, she went to university first week, got drunk, lost her virginity, and she regrets it so much. But in that moment, she was so excited about it, and in that moment, she didn't stop him. But it's because, you know, she wasn't sober. So I don't think that really counts as consent.
Like, I feel like if any of our parents were sitting here right now, they'd be like, oh God, this conversation. They'd just probably have a heart attack for these reasons, because we are going to go out and party. We are going to make mistakes.
And, like, the dangerous side of that is that people want to avoid what they fear. So if we're so scared of, you know, as you were saying, like, if we're so scared about this kind of topic, then obviously if our parents are here, you know, in their generation especially, they had even more fear than we did. And they never talked about that kind of thing. So if we keep perpetuating that kind of fear, we're never going to get to the place that we need to be.
There's also like the whole like facade of cultures. Like the guys can't be like, can I? They have to be like, down. They have to be this like aggressor. This like they have to be always the aggressor.
And then there's this whole idea with the men being the aggressor that the girl's playing hard to get.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh God.
And you're like, maybe if it's hard to get because we don't want you to get it.
Yeah.
What if you're sending flirtatious messages? You're sexting. Is that like an implication now that you gotta kind of eventually say yes?
Yeah.
No, I don't think like there's any type of groundwork you can lay at like any kind of like preparation or anything you can try to trap someone into where they have to keep a specific response. Like you could go out for a nice date. You could have had like a little makeout session before. You could have been like, yeah, let's go hang out in my bedroom. All of it. You could be down to like the last second before something happens. A no is still valid. There's not a single thing you can do to make that no or that like, how about you just kind of back off me any less valid.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. This was a sensational conversation. I could talk honestly here all day long. Awesome, man. You guys are champs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was pretty so awesome. Hey guys, join the convo by commenting below. And if you have some questions or need some help and advice on the subject of consent, hit up my pals at Kids Help Phone, and make sure to follow our social at the.tv for tools and resources on the subject. Oh, one more thing. Hit subscribe on this title card.